Fantastic stuff, guys. Okay, well done. So this is where we get to the proficiency section of closing. Now, this is what I really want to talk to you about here is understand that closing is not a manipulative technique. Closing is not an event. So it's not the moment you go to see the customer where they actually sign on the bottom line. No, that's not closing. Closing is a process. Closing is something that starts the moment you identify the perfect customer. Closing is the thing that starts the moment you know exactly what you sell and what your value proposition is. So think a lot deeper. Think a lot deeper than closing is the moment. Closing is an event. Closing is the signing of a deal. Closing is a journey. Closing is something that happens, or should I rather say, closing is something that occurs when you've earned the right to close with a customer. So what I want to do here in the proficiency section is I want to give you a brief overview of all the steps, of all the things that you need to do to be effective at closing. So the first thing that you need to do is you need to become clear on exactly what you sell. And that's not as simple as it sounds, is it? You don't sell the widget, or in other words, you don't sell what your product does. I don't sell sales training. What I sell is improved profitability, the ability to optimize a sales team's performance, a great return on sales training investment. So think about your product. What is it that it does? In other words, WIIFM, what does it do for your customers? So that's the first thing you need to have an understanding of. What is the transformation that happens for your customer or for your prospect when they use your product or service? So that's the first thing. The second thing you want to know is who's your tribe? Because how long does it take to prospect the wrong customer? Well, just about as long as it does the right one. So you want to go and you want to get a really deep understanding of who is my perfect customer? Who is it that the transformation, both myself, because you are an integral part of the sale, the transformation myself and my product offers to my customer. In other words, how will my customer or my prospect be better off after buying from me? And who is the perfect customer to enjoy that? So I want to have a look at demographics first of all. I want to have a look at where they're located, what industry are they in, what market do they serve, what is it about that industry, that market that I love, and then I want to bring it down and I want to ask questions about the individual, the psychographics of the people I like dealing with, what personality type, what thinking style, decision-making process, age, gender, educational level. Well, it's your customer, it's your perfect prospect. So what you want to do is you want to go and have a look and explore and look at your top 5 customers and say, what is it I love about them? Is it the volume of product they buy from me? Is it their location? Is it the people? Is it the industry? Or a combination of, what is it? Because once you can find out exactly who your tribe is, it becomes really simple to do 2 things. One, identify your perfect prospect that you can focus all your energy on. And 2, it helps you to eliminate or very quickly identify the wrong prospect. You know those prospects that you would traditionally spend months and months prospecting? Well, the moment you know who your tribe is, you're going to stop wasting time because you're only going to be focusing on your perfect prospects. The next thing that's really important is you want to be prepared. So success in sales is all about preparation. In fact, I have a whole module called the 3 magic words for sales success. And those 3 magic words are preparation, preparation, and preparation. Because the more prepared you are, if you think about what is it that's going to separate my product, or what is it that's going to allow me to stand out in the mind of one of my prospects, what is it that my product does better? The moment that you can get a good understanding of all of that, and the more prepared you are before you go to a meeting, where you're going to show up and the customer's going to already be looking at you and going, wow, this person has researched my company. This person is prepared. This person understands what my needs are. This person understands how to connect my needs, values, and expectations together. Because an agenda shows you're prepared. An agenda shows you respect somebody's most valuable possession, namely their time. And also during the sales meeting, when you use words like, when I was researching your organization on the internet yesterday, I noticed the following, and what I'd like to find out is, can I get this little bit of information and this little information, because it'll help me to connect my value proposition to your needs, values, and expectations, and it'll put me in a position to help you to optimize your business, reduce your costs, etc. So you're using language that's important to the customer, but you're prepared. You already have questions prepared. You already thought about the linchpin questions that you're going to ask. You've thought about possible objections that may come up, because by anticipating objections, you can already have built questions. You can already have built the answers to those possible objections into your proposal. You can have already anticipated that you need to communicate additional value so that your customer isn't going to be questioning price. They're going to be seeing value, etc. So research is absolutely critical. The next thing you need to think about is when you're wanting to deal with a prospect, very important to have already considered, what am I trying to sell when I'm going to make or I'm trying to arrange a meeting with a customer? Am I trying to sell my product, or am I just trying to sell an appointment? And the moment you realize that what you really need is, you need to positively influence your prospect. Oh, here's something interesting to remember is, a prospect is also a cross or upselling opportunity. And the principles for prospecting new customers are exactly the same for prospecting or finding cross and upselling opportunities. So think really carefully. Next time you're wanting to achieve a purpose, in other words, close a sale, show your existing customers possible cross and upselling opportunities, think about, what is it you want to sell? Well, what you really need to sell is just the appointment. Once you get to the appointment, then you can start focusing on what it is you sell, how your value proposition will serve your customer. But if you don't get that meeting, you're never going to get the opportunity. So start off by just selling the appointment first. The next thing you want to do is, you want to build a predictable sales process. Now, a predictable sales process is a really cool tool, because what it does is it takes all the best practices within an organization, in other words, all the correct daily sales behaviors, and it documents them. Then it says, okay, so these are all the things that you need to go and do. What we want you to do is, we want you to go and have a look at your time. We want you to go and have a look at your available time. And we want you to say, so these are the outcomes that we're wanting you to achieve on a daily basis. In other words, these are the outcomes being achieved, the best practices. These are the outcomes being achieved by our top sales performers. And these are the outcomes that you can achieve too if you perform a certain type of activities, or certain number of activities, or the right type of activities every single day. And that's what your predictable sales process is. So in a nutshell, the predictable sales process is the best practices within the organization, and then you as a sales professional find a way to adopt those best practices and introduce them into your sales day. The next thing that you've got to consider is, okay, so I have a certain amount of time available. Now, we all have different lives. We all have different commitments. And based on that, we need to build a plan. We need to build a daily schedule. We need to build a process. And I'm going to say this word once. We need to understand how to manage our time. Or should I rather say, we need to know how to allocate or prioritize how we're going to utilize our time so that we're going to get an optimal amount of the right activities, our predictable sales process activities, done every single day. The next thing we want to think about is sales enablement. Now, sales enablement is a process, or should I say, is a supportive process that guides us, helps us, Because when we're doing whatever we're doing, are we cross-selling, are we upselling, are we prospecting to a new customer in a specific vertical or a specific market, we need sales info, sales resources, sales support to help us do that. So this is a place, our sales enablement is a place where we would keep all of that sales information. It would be an online support system where we'd have all the sales resources, the sales info, the sales data, recorded testimonials, all of the support materials that you need documented and carefully indexed and mapped so that it's really easy to find. Should you need to prospect in a certain market, should you need to prospect a certain type of customer, should you need to, or should you want to upsell or cross-sell, all of that information's got to be collated, documented, and kept in one very, very safe place. A place preferably online that's easy to access, something that becomes simple, something that is a valuable asset. In other words, it adds meat, it adds support in so many different ways. It's sales support, sales resources, sales information that is going to help and guide you to go through, move a sale through your sales funnel. Get one of your customers to accept one of your cross or upselling proposals. You also need to have a look at how are you going to connect with the customers, right? Because getting to see decision makers is often really, really difficult. There's gatekeepers involved and it's quite challenging. So one of the best ways that I found to do that is some kind of a networking opportunity. So you need to hone your networking skills. You need to make sure that you are very clear on where do your decision makers, where do the influencers hang out, and how can you easily connect with them without having to go through a gatekeeper. So this would be at association meetings or networking events or sporting events or any kind of event where you could connect with the customer or connect with a decision maker without having to go through a gatekeeper. Now, the benefits, or should I rather say, when you go to a networking event, you need to think about being a little more prepared, right? So you want to go to networking events, professional networking events where you can get the contact details of the people that are going to be there. The chambers of commerce are very good with that sort of thing. So what you want to do is the night before, get a list of all the potential people that are going to be there and identify 3 perfect prospects. In other words, 3 organizations, or should I rather say people from organizations that are a perfect fit for your product or service. Research them the night before. Actually get to know as much as you can about the individual. Once you have an understanding about the individual, I actually even go as far as printing their picture so that when you go to the networking event, you're not just wandering around eating a lot of food with food stuck in your teeth. You're actually there with a purpose and you have a very clear idea of 3 perfect prospects. You walk up to those people and remember the law of reciprocity says when you go up to somebody and you say to them, what brings you here? And they tell you exactly what they're looking for. And if you're in a position to help them, well, help them with a referral. That's always a great way to cement a relationship. Next thing, you obviously know, you've researched them. They're going to ask you, they're going to say, so why are you here? And you describe exactly what you're looking for. And surprise, surprise, they're going to go, wow, that's me. And that's your opportunity to go, hey, that's really cool. When can we meet? Because you don't want to discuss business there, but you ask the question, when can we meet? And then you meet the next day, boom, no gatekeeper involved, and you connected with the decision maker. The next thing that you want to consider is once you start connecting with the customer, once you start engaging with the customer, right from the very, very first moment that you're going to hold a discovery meeting, you need to constantly be thinking, how can I add meaningful value to this customer? How can I add meaningful value to this relationship? Because you need to stand out, not just with what your product and service can do, but you need to stand out as an individual. You need to stand out and show your prospect just how willing you are to add value, just how willing you are to go the extra mile, just how willing you are to follow through, to exceed their expectations on every level. So ask yourself the question, at every juncture, at every touch point with your customer, what are you going to do to add value to the relationship? Because the more you can do that, the more you're going to stand out. The more you can do that, the more you're going to add value to the relationship. The less price is going to be an issue. So think deeply around adding value. It's one of the key elements to disconnecting a price objection and connecting to value. Because people will always buy if in their mind the perceived value of the product is here and the perceived price you're expecting them to pay is here. Nobody will ever ask for a price reduction when they believe or perceive they're getting more value than the price we're asking them to pay. The next thing we want to consider is your value proposition. So what is it that your organization does better? What is it that makes you and your organization stand out? In other words, what tools do you offer? What additional service do you offer? What additional elements does your product or your service bring to the table that your competitors don't? Because that's what your value proposition is. It's getting an understanding of what is your differential advantage, what is your unique selling proposition, what is the additional way, the additional lengths that you go to add value to the relationship. Because as long as you are just selling the same product in the same way to the same prospect, or trying to sell it to the same prospect, nobody's going to want to buy from you. But the moment you can show there's additional value, there's additional reasons for buying our product or service, things change. In other words, your customer will see that there's definitely a reason I should consider changing to this new supplier. There are benefits. Once you figure out what that is, in other words, you understand what your value proposition is, what you do better, what makes you and your organization stand out from their current supplier. Once you can understand that, and you can understand how to connect that to your customers' needs, values, and expectations, closing sales becomes really easy. Avoiding objections becomes really, really easy. So the next thing you want to consider is a process, right? Or should I rather say, throughout the process, we need to be engaging with our customers. Now, in order to engage with our customers, we need to understand that we've got to be able to probe, we've got to be able to ask open-ended questions, we've got to be able to, or should I rather say prepared, to ask open-up questions. In other words, tell me more, explain a little bit more about that process, and describe how that is going to, you fill in the blanks. So you've got to be asking questions, and the way that you become the most successful is when you use questions to encourage engagement from your customer. In other words, you've got to get your customer to be speaking way more than you speak. And the research shows, I previously believed it was 80% the customer needed to speak, but subsequent research that we conducted came out that it's 60%. So you need to get your customer speaking 60% of the time. Bearing in mind, while you're speaking, you're learning nothing. And remember, you need to know as much as possible about your customer's unique circumstances. You need to know as much as possible about what's important for your customers as possible. Because you can only connect your value in a specific way, in a way that's going to show that it's better. It's going to do something different in a better optimized way. In other words, it's going to positively transform your customers' businesses when you have a deep understanding of what are their needs, their specific needs, specific values, and what are their specific expectations. And once you can do that, closing sales becomes simple. Next step is we want to consider, so we understand the importance of probing and asking questions, open-ended questions, open-up questions, etc. But then we need to ask a specific type of question. And that type of question I'm referring to here is Linchpin questions. So a Linchpin question is a very specific question which is designed to allow your customer to question their current supply. In other words, you have a look and you say, right, so your current supplier can do X, we can do Y. So what we do is we pose a question around what we can do better, what our differential advantage is, and in the mind of the customer, we allow them to sit there and go, my current supplier doesn't do that. And then it gives us an opportunity to communicate, to connect how we can do things better. In other words, connect our value proposition, the positive part, our differential advantage, our unique selling proposition, to the needs, values, and expectations of our customers. That's Linchpin Questions. The next thing we want to have a look at is we obviously need to understand that no matter how prepared we are, no matter how much research we do, no matter how powerful our questioning techniques may be, no matter how good we are at connecting our value proposition to our customers' needs, values, and expectations, our customers are still going to object. So, when a customer objects, what do we do? Is it the end of the road? No, not at all. In fact, an objection is one of the best pieces of news I ever get in a conversation. What it's really saying is that your customer hasn't yet understood how your value will completely satisfy their needs, or they haven't seen how your value proposition is indeed a better option, offers them a better option to transform their business than their current supplier. So objections are always a great thing. How I view objections is I see them as questions from my customer. In other words, questions about, okay, so this is where I have a challenge, here, here, and here. If you can address those challenges, I'm willing to buy. So I actually use it as a roadmap to say, right, so once I can address, mitigate, reduce, eliminate these challenges, objections, my customer's ready to buy. And then the final element is risk. Now, unlike objections, risk is unspoken, right? So we need to be, or should I rather say, in order to uncover risk, we need to be able to read between the lines. We need to listen for the unspoken. Now, risk could be something like, I'm not completely convinced that you and your organization will indeed live up to those claims you've made. I'm not 100% sure that I can trust you and your organization. I'm not convinced that there's not going to be a cheaper option available 3 months' time. I'm not convinced that your product is indeed going to perform the way you say it is. So removing risk is, well, first of all, uncovering risk is an art form. So you need to really read between the lines. You need to be prepared. You need to anticipate what type of risk would your customer possibly feel. And then you need to have ways to mitigate it, reduce it, and best of all, completely eliminate it. So for example, if you're going to run a trial, offer to give them the product at cost. Or better still, offer to absorb the cost of the trial completely yourself. Or if you're going to be offering something like a sales enablement process, offer 100% money back guarantee should the results not be at a specific level. Offer to give 100% money back guarantee. So what risk really is your customer doubting in their mind. They never or very seldom going to express that doubt, but it's doubt going on in the back of their mind, like, is this the right decision? Once you can address risk, or in other words, once you can eliminate, neutralize, or completely cancel out any risk your customer's feeling, your customer will buy with confidence. Not every time though, because if there's other reasons that it would hold your customer away from buying, even if you completely eliminate the risk, the customer may not buy. But here's the important thing to remember. Your customer will never buy if they're feeling any risk. So if your customer's feeling risk, no chance of buying. So we need to neutralize risk so that we open up the opportunity. In other words, we get the opportunity to earn the right to close the sale. So risk equals no chance of closing. Neutralized risk means I have a greater chance of closing. In other words, I have a greater chance of connecting my value proposition to the needs, values, and expectations of my customer. A better chance of completely showing the customer how we're going to indeed positively transform their business, which puts the customer in a position where they can, or should I rather say may, accept my offer.